Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here at our third installment of Meet the Team live show at HeavyFinance. Today we have with us Darius Verseckas. Darius, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, pleasure.
Darius is our chief marketing officer and also our globetrotter. Not only because you like to trot the world, but also because he's a super talented guy. And as I know, you have all this background in PR and communication. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I used to work as a tech journalist and then got promoted to technology editor and been writing quite a bit about startups and innovation and all around these topics. And starting a startup myself is quite a journey now. It seems like I talked to so many of them and learned so many lessons. Though still there are so many things you don't know and so many things that you have to come up with genius ideas yourself.
Just an apart, I know that you worked for Verseckas for quite some time. That's the biggest newspaper in the Baltics for business, right?
Yeah, that's true. That was really interesting to talk to the business community on a daily basis.
So I bet you gather a lot of theoretical information, at least, a lot of practical cases from that.
Yeah, and a bunch of stories. I remember when Vinted was small and all those now massive startups.
Where Vinted was actually small.
Yeah, and then we had those conversations about their like Series A rounds and things, and now the whole ecosystem evolved so much. I'm very happy and proud about it.
Yeah, I actually feel that there's something special going on in Lithuania. So just to clarify, we are headquartered in Lithuania, in European Union. And I feel that there is this beautiful ecosystem that you're talking about, where things happen very fast. There's a lot of tech companies, fintech companies, some crowdfunding companies also. And you've been keeping up with all this during your professional career, right?
Yeah, and it helps a lot now actually, because there's quite a lot of global experience in how to run fastly growing fintech companies. So I'm meeting quite a lot of people and talking to them how we can improve and grow faster, be stronger, make more impact, and that's really enabling.
That's also something interesting, actually. You're talking about knowing all these people. I know for a fact that you have a very vast network of entrepreneurs here. I actually was able to benefit a little bit from that, to join you a couple of times. Does it help to have all these people that have experienced entrepreneurs that can share something with you? Do you ask them for advice sometimes? Do you share experiences?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. There are those strategic things that you have to actually think about it, and if somebody else already did a mistake in making the same thing, so it's easy to ask them.
Of course. So I also know that you have been trotting a little bit around the globe. Now, to give a reference to my first comment, and you've been studying abroad. Can you where?
Yeah, I studied innovation and entrepreneurship in UK. Pretty famous business school of Lancaster University. Then went to China, Renmin University. Then went to Vietnam, lived there quite a bit, and worked as freelancer. So there's quite a bit of experience of being in those international communities and knowing different cultures. And I think it really helps to understand now those different countries and different cultures, because we already operate in 4 countries. And when you think about it, even Latvia has a bit of a different edge, how to approach them, how to talk to them. It's really interesting to grasp those differences and see how to make your product best for them, and how to actually convince them that, well, that's the best option for you.
Very well. And also, being in different situations and going abroad, it surely forced you to learn fast about things, right? To think fast, learn fast. Because I know that you're our CMO, and you have been doing an amazing job, but there was a lot that you learned on the job, right? And you had to learn fast.
Oh yeah. There are so many mistakes made.
Yeah, but
But
mistakes are good.
it's
You need to have the courage to make them, right?
yeah, but it's really good, and I love to talk to all the investors because we really receive so many questions and about agricultural loans, how to invest, what kind of impact it gives. And especially, I really love those questions when investors ask us about the impact of their investments because it's not the return that only matters. It's also the influence you make, the how do you make the world a better place. And I really like getting those questions and comments that while investing in those small and medium firms actually gives some kind of a sense of emotional reward, I suppose. And actually also it helps the world in reducing emissions. We financed 250 farmers, I think, now, uh, in a little bit more than a year. And so many farmers had an opportunity to change from older heavy equipment, let's say from tractor made in mid 80s to tractor made in early 2000. That's quite an upgrade in terms of emissions. And I'm really happy that it's happening.
Actually, that is true. I mean, I have to comment a little bit here because what we found is that every project, every loan that we give has a narrative, but this is not like a fantasy narrative, but a really down to earth narrative. You know, so I feel, and sometimes when we talk with the borrowers, we feel that there is a family that has, I mean, you can go through their financials, through their context, and understand exactly why they need that and how much they need that and how much this is going to impact their lives, not as a business person, but also as a real person and a family, and how much this is going to allow local farmers that are growing local foods, allow them to grow their products and to grow also as a business and improve their quality of life, right?
Yeah, actually, well, just yesterday we met with one beekeeper that we financed. He was telling that, well, when you need a smaller amount, like up to 50,000 euro, nobody wants to deal with you. And heavy finance investor community financed that farmer, and he was so happy that he actually increased the efficiency of the farm. And he said that the harvest period was really good to the, well, not harvest if you're talking about the bees, but there's quite a lot of honey. And he said, well, that helped me to go through the most intense period of the year, and that allows him to bring back the loan and be stronger as a business.
Let me take that story because that's a very interesting story. So yesterday we were talking about this beekeeper, this couple that we
Yeah.
met in our headquarters. Uh, but before that, we actually took an opportunity when we financed our first Portuguese loan,
Yeah.
right, with a wine, and we decided to offer a bottle of wine to each investor, right? And Darius had this brilliant idea to invite the investors to our headquarters and talk to them and actually gather some feedback, right? And that was a super interesting dynamic because how many investors, how many retail investors did we actually meet and talk to on the phone? I would say more than 10 or 20, right?
Yeah, if talking on the phone, then a little bit more than 100.
Yeah, so all these retail investors sharing some feedback about how they see heavy finance and how
Yeah.
they invest in our platform. And what key points did you take out of that experience?
First of all, it's definitely very interesting to see how differently they think about the returns, about the usability of the platform, about generally agriculture, because from what I see, there are quite a bit of people from big cities who don't engage much in agriculture. They don't know many things, and they are really curious to learn about it. And I think that that brings a little bit more of I don't know, common sense and understanding of people between the rural areas and the urbanized areas. And that's a really important conversation as well that I never talked about, never thought about before, I suppose.
Actually, there was one story of one of these investors that resonated with me. I hope well, I'm not going to disclose who is the investor, but I'm going to tell the story because it was really, really impressive at the time. So we have this investor that has been retail investing in heavy finance, and he says, I invest in different platforms, right? You remember the story. I
Yeah,
invest
yeah.
in different platforms, and usually, you go to a platform and this is kind of cold numbers, just like a line on an Excel sheet almost, not exactly, but almost. And then I get to heavy finance, and I sit my daughter on my lap, and we're looking through it, and we're looking at the pictures of the farmers of whatever they are financing, and trying to recreate all the context and all the story behind that specific farmer, and she's the one picking where to invest. And in the end of the day, if we make money, she gets her prize. And I thought this was really beautiful. I mean, this is how you teach your kids, educate your kids how to invest, and because
Yeah,
this is
and
also something
analyze.
important. Exactly, but this is also something important. Is teaching. There's an educating standpoint that we do to with teaching people how to invest, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And I suppose the whole product itself is very good in terms that it's convenient for both beginner investors and very advanced investors who are seeking to get like more than 10% return.
Talking about storytelling, there is a story that I really want to hear from you.
All right.
How so Darius is one of the founders of Heavy Finance. He's been with Heavy Finance since the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did you jump to become an entrepreneur from a journalist, from someone related to journalism, to communication, and all of a sudden, bam, you're there in the front line starting your own business?
Yeah, probably for the very beginning of Heavy Finance, you should watch a video with Darius. He, together with Limonas, came up with the whole idea of Heavy Finance. And I was actually in self-isolation when that happened. I was just returned from Asia. And Limonas called and he said, let's do agriculture. I was like, what are you talking about? What? Agriculture? Really? And I was very surprised about the topic itself because I've never did anything before in agriculture. I used to write more about like spaceships and said like, well, let me think about it. I'm not sure if that's a thing. But then after I got from self-isolation, we talked quite a lot when we met, and I understood that it's actually a very meaningful thing to do. That's what so many people don't do actually. They don't aim to solve problems in agriculture. And I think we have a very different mindset, very different edge that helps us to understand from different perspectives. And especially when I talk to so many people from urbanized areas, their perception about agriculture and farmers is a little bit old school. Farmers, I find and I talk to every day, they are first of all extremely modern. We find them on digital channels. They are, well, I'd say just like us. And it's interesting to keep that conversation between these two groups.
So that's also something very interesting. You're talking about modernizing the approach to farmers, right? As I understand, and as CMO, you know this very intimately. As I understand, we are using mostly a digital channel to reach these farmers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Actually, well, interesting thing that, well, when the farmer is sitting in a combine harvester or in a tractor, that's a highly automated machine if it's made in the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years. Some of them are sitting and scrolling Facebook. Then they see Heavy Finance and they think like, yeah, actually, that solves my another problem. Let's talk to them. That's how it happens very, very oftenly.
And do you feel the need to go to traditional channels? I mean, an urgent need. I'm not saying that this could not be an added value, but do you see an urgent need to go to traditional channels, or do you believe that for now Google, Facebook, they are efficient?
Well, it's not very urgent. I'm really a big fan of digital marketing, but traditional media is important. I think that keeping the conversation about financial literacy for farmers And in general, financing of this sector is really important, and we should talk about it more in regional newspapers. So I'm always talking with them and encouraging them to write something about it, not necessarily just about it, because I think that the topic itself is really important, and we have to talk about it in different countries, especially having a lot of small and medium farmers who might be um, I don't know, a little bit less into this topic, and some of them are a little bit more conservative, especially those who got some bad experiences with banks in early 90s. We have to show them how the world changed. But on the same note, there are those young farmers who are way more entrepreneurial, I'd say. That new generation of farmers really fascinates me.
What fascinates you exactly in this new generation of farmers? Are they using new techniques? Are they trying to prove something? How does that go?
Yeah, um, definitely more entrepreneurial, definitely trying new things and new techniques, not afraid of, I don't know, ecological farming, different ways of farming, reading quite a lot. And you remember the beekeeper from yesterday, he was telling us to how many international conferences for beekeepers he went.
True.
Love these guys. They are amazing, and I'm still surprised how they cannot get financed.
This actually breaks the stereotypes because people have the stereotype, farmers are like, I'm not going to say lazy, but they are not very educated, let's say, let's put it like this, right? And this is really a bad stereotype because in our experience, this is not what we see,
Yeah, I
right?
suppose quite many of us actually are not that educated much about farmers. That's the problem.
Exactly, exactly. That's a good point. That's a good point. So we're talking about how we reach farmers, how we get our clients. Our clients are farmers. So besides social media, besides digital marketing and some possible traditional marketing channels, how else do we get the farmers to meet us? To how else do we offer our products to the farmers?
Yeah, actually, very happy that we're not in the lockdown and we had some opportunities to go to fairs and talk to them. Um, so that was really a good experience, and again, you start knowing them a little bit better. So that was really important. And another thing is we're constantly talk to equipment vendors who have a very direct channel to each farmer. And considering our flexibility, they often offer our services to those farmers who are in need of financial help to purchase some heavy equipment.
Very good. We have a question from Andres Lukaitis, and I think this question is a trick question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Andres asks Darius, do you know any Chinese? And this is because you were in Southeast Asia, right? So do you mind answering this question?
No, several words, but Chinese is really difficult. Yeah, tried to learn it. It was a little bit of a failure because, gosh, it's so different. I love the languages, but I understood that in 6 months I'm not capable to learn Chinese.
That's very hard. This is at the beginning how I felt about Lithuanian, and then my mind changed a bit.
But you learned so much.
I know a bit, not as much as I would like to, but yeah, I know a bit. But when you're dealing with international businesses, you don't feel the need to talk so much Lithuanian, so you
Yeah.
don't get that opportunity. So let me ask you another thing. You're also responsible for content on Heavy Finance on the blog. I have seen some very relevant content on our blog, and this is not because I'm with Heavy Finance, but because it's actually important, like women investing, educating to investments. How do you pick these topics?
Yeah, actually, it comes a lot from those frequently asked questions. If you see 10, 20, 30 people asking the same question, you think like, well, let's write a blog post about it. and explain everything in detail. And sometimes I'm just answering to one of the investors' questions, and I see that I already wrote a page, so maybe I should just copy paste it to the blog.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But do you feel that at this point in time, as our society is today, do you feel that it's sustainable not to start investing early?
I think that everybody should start invest early, and that's where you actually become I don't know, sustainably rich, let's say, person. If you start very early and you start with, let's say, €100 a month, in 10 years, that's going to be a lot of money. And
That's true.
I really encourage everybody to start as early as possible. I know that sometimes you just think, well, I don't have enough money. But when you think about it, to save €100, that's not so much.
And another thing, so when we're talking about our typical investor, retail investor in our
Yeah.
platform, do you feel that in the social demographics, there are some sectors that are missing that you would like to see better represented?
Mm, Honestly, that's a really good question. Should dig a little bit more into that, but I definitely see a community of business people who are investing very actively and are very interested in our product, and then I see the depth of their questions. Uh, then I see these, well, I'd say very much retail investors who are actually saving the money, and they perceive it probably a little bit more as saving the money. If you buy the couch, that money is already lost. But if you're putting the money in heavy finance or actually, well, any other platform, uh, that's already a little bit of saving the money and then investing them wisely. Actually, I really encourage to have a very careful look to each project. We're providing a lot of information about them, starting with financials and then ending with these very personal stories. How old is the farm? How did it started? It's really important to understand them because in the end of the day, you are the ones taking the risk. So we're putting our best effort to explain you how that business looks like, and we're hoping that you're always making right decisions.
Actually, touched two very important topics. One of them, we are the middlemen, right? So what we do is find the borrowers, find investors, but there is all this work in the middle of preparation, risk assessment. So we try to provide all the information possible to give our investors an informed decision, correct?
Yes.
This is the most important part of our topic. And you touch another topic, also very important, sorry. That is, sometimes there's this misconception that I felt on the borrower side, not so much on the investor side, that we are investing money of people who are rich and funds and other financial investors. And most of the times, or a lot of times, we are investing money of people who actually are saving money. They are one of a kind. It can be a farmer that saves like €100 or €200 per month to invest the money. Isn't that true? Did you find that?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And actually, you mentioned farmers, and I'm very happy that some farmers became investors in heavy finance, and they are funding other farmers. That was a little bit new to me because I thought that these will not be connected audiences, but actually those farmers who are very successful and then have quite a bit of money, they decided why not to invest in other farmers. They know everything in that farm. They see financials, they understand it very clearly. Sometimes it's the person they know. So always happy to see them.
That's beautiful. So let me ask you another question. Um, why, as a retail investor, why would you invest in heavy finance?
Yeah, so probably the first thing everybody notices is a pretty high return, I'd say. It's still more than 11% at the moment. It's not very easy to find such a big interest rate, but also Agriculture is a very, very safe field, and it's not just me telling that. European Commission released a report late last year, which says that it's one of the safest sectors to invest in, and I suppose that partly is because of the European Union's help to farmers with all the subsidies. But another thing is actually it's part of those people's lives, and there's a very strange legal status of a farmer, which, well, they are acting in between of a private person and a company. And actually, they're taking a pretty big risks. It's not the company that, well, this company failed and I'm going to establish another one. It's a big part of their lives. So I suppose it's in this way it's emotionally more attaching and a little bit safer, I suppose. But again, that's my personal opinion.
Very good. We have one more question. Guys, this is the time for last questions. If you have something, start typing now. Otherwise, Gabriel is asking, how does your experience of working and studying abroad help you now while being CMO of HeavyFinance?
Yeah, probably first of all, it expands the tolerance level because you see so many different people, but also all the frameworks, I suppose. There are so many good frameworks when you think about problems and try to solve them. You can just look at them or read some scientific articles. If you're not being a student for a bit, you forget about all the scientific articles that can solve your problems and bring some new opportunities, I suppose.
Very good. And one last question is, how do you see the future of HeavyFinance? What do you have in store, of what you can disclose, of course? What do you have in store for HeavyFinance at the moment?
So the problem we're solving is really big. European Union is missing 40 billion euro in agricultural loans. I want to help them all, if possible.
So you see in the future 40 billion in loans?
Think that I would be really pleased. So many smart people, including you, joined Heavy Finance, and I think we're really capable to make the change here. And together with this great investor community, now we have more than 2,000 of them. I suppose within several years there will be 200,000 maybe.
That would be great. We have one question, so someone actually started typing when I asked. Billing is asking, are you more of a creative or an analytical person? That's a very good question.
Yeah, I suppose I'm shifting from all the creative parts to analytical parts to understand where the problem lay and how to increase our performance and how to do things better, and then giving creative work to those who actually know it very well. Because when you start the company, and I suppose that many business people watching will relate to that, start doing so many different things yourself. And then you have to slowly give it to somebody else because you started generating enough revenue to hire one more person, and you can divide those tasks and assign to different people. So I suppose I used to be a creative and analytical one, and now moving more to analytical and strategic
and
person.
operations. Well, Darius, thank you so much for being here with us today. It was an amazing talk. I wanted to apologize. Actually, today is the first day in school here in Lithuania, and we could hear some bands marching outside. I think they are parading a bit. So if you heard some noise, please understand. It's the only thing I can ask you. And apart from that, don't forget, tomorrow we will have who do we have tomorrow? Thomas, Thomas Ginaitis. I did not forget. Tomorrow we'll have Thomas Ginaitis here with us. He's our head of sales. He was supposed to be here today, but because it's the first day of school, he could not be here. and we anticipated Darius. So, guys, see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you are enjoying this very honest and unscripted conversations that we're having here, just to bring to you the core team of HeavyFinance and to understand exactly who we are, and to show you all the transparency and build a trust bond, a bond of trust. That is what we want with our retail investors and with our community in general. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Thank you so much for tuning in once again.
See ya.
Bye.